The Seagram Building is a modernist building designed by Mies van der Rohe and Philip Johnson, constructed in 1958. Located at 375 Park Avenue, Manhattan, New York, the building is recognized as the first and finest example of a skyscraper in the international style in New York City. The apparent classical plan of the building is based on a symmetrical 8.5-meter grid with the elevator court placed in the back of the building, forming the windowless back wall of the tower. Much of the building's success comes from its elegant proportions and its relation to the overall site. The building is set back from the street by 90 feet and in from the side by 30. The earthwork plaza includes two reflecting pools and a low boundary wall in green marble to set off the building. A two-story glass box sits at the base of the site's platform, distinguished by the site setback from the building's pillars. The building's vast pillars consist of a steel structure which is covered in concrete for fireproofing purposes, and also set in bronze clad. The 38-story facade consists of alternating bands of bronze plating and whiskey brown tinted glass. The building's external faces are given their character by the quality of the materials used, where the tinted glass and the bronze I-beams are applied all the way to the top of the building, making the Seagram Building the first bronze-colored skyscraper. The building was the first with floor-to-ceiling windows, making the wall a true curtain of glass, as foreseen by the visionaries of the modern movement. Between the windows, there are vertical decorative bronze eye-profile beams attached to the mullions to emphasize the vertical rise of the facade, characterizing the building from any other facade in its surrounding. This was Mies's most subtle way of adding ornament to his building, as well as the distinctive use of materials that broadcast the entire facade.
The Sony Building, formerly known as the AT&T Building, was designed by Philip Johnson and completed in 1984. It is located at 550 Madison Avenue. The building was designed during Johnson's postmodernistic phase. Postmodernism rejects modernistic type rules by referring and using design elements from previous architectural movements or styles. The Sony Building references that of a classical yet authoritative style. It references this movement by choice of cladding, which is stone and marble, from the same quarry to that of Grand Central Station, as well as the use of arcuated construction. The building sits on top of classical feet and is symmetrical. As well, there is a public atrium at the rear of the building. It has a curved glass roof, allowing lots of natural sunlight to illuminate classical features such as stone detailing and enormous classical type pillars. Another feature is the grand 7-story entrance space, framed by an exquisite stone arch. At the center of the entrance space used to stand a statue. This statue was known as the Spirit of Communication and stood 22 feet tall. It was removed by AT&T when Sony purchased the building. This was controversial because it only helped to adhere to the classical type. Lastly, and perhaps most ostentatious in choice for an ornament, is the functionless pediment atop this postmodern building. The pediment serves to represent as a tribute to indulgent corporatism that has given rise to the tall buildings vying for attention on the New York skyline. The Seagram and Sony buildings have Philip Johnson in common. He was the creator of the Sony building and collaborator with Mies van der Rohe on the Seagram. Both buildings are steel structures, but their appearances are very different. The Seagram building is a classic example of modernism. It upholds simple form and shape and lacks ornamentation, whereas the Sony building is postmodern, using classic architectural elements such as the use of arches, symmetry, and classic stone adornment. As far as transparency, the Seagram building is all glass, making it simplistic in design. On the other hand, the Sony building is clad in stone and gives the effect of a solid, sturdy structure. The plazas of these two buildings are polar opposites. The Sony building's plaza is grand, towering 7 stories high with what looks like a gilded vaulted ceiling. The Seagram building is simple and perhaps at maximum double-heighted space. The usage of space amongst the two buildings is definitely visible, and when building, the plaza reaches 7 stories in height versus that of a double-heighted plaza in the Seagram building. The Sony building reaches a height of 647 feet, yet contains only 37 floors, whereas the Seagram building contains 39 floors at a height of 516 feet. Clearly, the usage of space is more efficient in the Seagram building. There is no hierarchy visible to the Seagram building. The building maintains the same shape and form from top to bottom. The Sony building, on the other hand, maintains the same shape and form until the pediment atop the building.